Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving headfirst into a highly viral and honestly pretty controversial framework that's been making the rounds online. The source material we're analyzing claims to reveal the 5 lies modern women tell men. We're going to take the exact words and phrases you hear all the time in modern dating and translate them into the underlying evolutionary psychology concepts exactly as the original creator presents them. It's a fascinating question, right? Like, if you spent even 5 minutes on dating apps, you know how incredibly confusing communication can be. Now, the source material we're looking at today operates on a very specific premise. It argues that women inherently use deception to secure resources. As we go through this explainer, you're going to see a sharp, deliberate contrast between public, socially acceptable statements and what the creator claims are the hidden biological intentions driving them. So here is how we're going to systematically break this all down today. First, words versus meanings. 2, romance, age, and resources. 3, hiding nature and blame shifting. 4, the friends and orbiters theory. 5, past experiences and market value. And we'll wrap up with 6, conclusion, the evolutionary perspective. Let's get into it. Starting right off with section 1, words versus meanings. The creator's very first decoded lie tackles a huge societal narrative. You know the one, I believe in love and romance. Well, according to the source, a man's naturally giving nature is actually being exploited here. The creator argues that emotional phrases, even saying I love you, are essentially just dry words. They claim these words are basically meaningless unless they're exchanged for tangible material gifts like a car or an apartment. The whole argument here is that society programs men to believe women want a romantic poet, when in reality, the source claims they're really looking for a provider whose love is measured strictly by his material generosity. Moving right along to section 2, romance, age, and resources. Okay, you've almost certainly heard the phrase on the left, men my age are immature. But the source asserts that when a woman says this, she's actually participating in a secret, unspoken strategy. The creator calls this the sisterhood, this idea of a collective, where women supposedly strategize together. So in public, they blame a younger man's lack of maturity. But in private, the source claims the real issue is that younger men just haven't accumulated enough wealth or status yet to be considered valuable. To explain this, the source leans heavily on a specific concept, SMV, or sexual market value. The creator argues that as a man ages, his resources, and therefore his SMV, generally go up. On the flip side, the framework argues that women hit a metaphorical wall in their 30s. And when this happens, the source claims women dramatically change their strategies to lock down a marriage. For example, they might suddenly adopt more religious or modest attire. And the claim is that this isn't out of a genuine personal change, but rather it's an active, calculated strategy to secure a high SMV partner before it's too late. Now, to back up these pretty intense claims, the creator points to some data, specifically a massive study conducted across 37 different countries. We're talking everywhere from Africa to Asia, North America to Europe. The source uses this global study to claim it proves women universally, regardless of their culture or geography, prioritize a man's resources above literally all other traits. That brings us to section 3, hiding nature and blame shifting. The source argues that the entire concept of a good girl is just a myth. So when a woman says men just don't choose the good girls, the creator translates this as a direct act of blame shifting and gaslighting. The argument here is that women use this narrative to mask what they call a true hypergamous instinct. In this context, the source defines hypergamy as a woman's biological drive to constantly seek out a better, higher status option, even if she's already in a committed relationship. Basically, if she leaves for a better option, the source claims she will manipulate the narrative to make it look like it was the man's fault all along. And the creator is super explicit about how effective this supposed manipulation is. They claim a staggering 99% of men are completely fooled by this good girl idea. These men, according to the source, completely fail to understand that a woman will never act outside her biological nature. The 1% who do understand, which is, you guessed it, the target audience of the source material, are the ones who supposedly see right through this deception. All right, on to section 4, the friends and orbiters theory. He's just a friend. We've all heard it, right? Well, the framework claims that modern women actually treat these platonic male friends like, and this is their exact analogy, rental cars. The framework suggests that women keep a whole roster of men around them strictly as backups. The source claims that while a woman might tell her partner these guys are just friends from Facebook, she's very often physically involved with at least one of them, while keeping the rest around purely for utility. In fact, the source uses a very specific term for these men: orbiters. They essentially revolve around the woman like planets around a sun, providing free attention and validation. Furthermore, the creator argues that if a woman ever says she only gets along with guys and doesn't like being friends with other girls, that is a massive red flag. Why? Because according to the source, other girls don't provide free resources. But male orbiters, they provide incredibly lucrative, one-sided benefits. So, what exactly are these benefits? The creator actually lists highly specific services these orbiters provide. Need to go out for a free dinner? Call an orbiter. Car breaks down? Call an orbiter. Need help navigating some annoying administrative paperwork? Yep, you guessed it. Call an orbiter. The source portrays this entire dynamic as purely transactional. It's framed as a setup where the woman extracts labor and attention without ever intending to offer any real romantic commitment in return. To really hammer home this power dynamic, the source brings up an old English proverb: a woman cannot serve two masters. The creator applies this directly to the modern workplace, claiming a woman will biologically submit to whoever has the highest status. So if her boss is of a higher status than her husband, the source warns men that workplace infidelity is almost inevitable. The claim is that her hypergamous nature will literally force her to serve the higher status master. Which leads us right into Section 5, Past Experiences and Market Value. This one tackles a highly sensitive topic. When a woman claims she's only been with one or two guys, the source states that she is actively downplaying her past. But why lie about it? Well, according to the framework, extensive romantic experience creates what they call emotional fractures. The creator uses a rather blunt and honestly quite controversial analogy here, comparing women to dogs. They argue that just as it's significantly harder to train an older dog compared to a puppy, a woman with many past partners is harder for a man to mold. The claim is this makes her less capable of bonding, which ultimately lowers her overall marriage value. Because the source genuinely believes women will instinctively hide their true history, the creator offers a pretty harsh mathematical formula. They bluntly advise men to take whatever number of past partners a woman claims and just multiply it by 15 to find the truth. So if she says 2, the source insists the real number is 30. No exceptions. Now, to lend some scientific weight to this idea, the source cites evolutionary psychologist David Buss. The creator notes that men across incredibly diverse cultures, we're talking everywhere from modern China to isolated tribes in the Amazon, exhibit a strong preference for purity. The evolutionary logic presented here is that purity increases the probability of exclusive emotional attachment. The source even goes so far as to claim this is exactly why women use insults related to promiscuity against each other. The idea is they are subconsciously trying to lower their rival's market value in the eyes of men. And finally, Section 6, Conclusion, the evolutionary perspective. Let's wrap this up by looking at the core ideology driving all of this. The entire presentation we've just explored rests entirely on one single, foundational belief held by the creator. They posit that modern dating behaviors, no matter how much society evolves or changes, are strictly governed by unchangeable, hypergamous biological instincts. In their view, every single lie, every deflection, and every friendship is simply an evolutionary survival tactic playing out in the modern world. And there you have it, the framework decoded. As we conclude this explainer, we want to leave you with this to really ponder. How much does this rigid, purely biological lens actually clarify the complexities of human connection? Or does it drastically oversimplify the reality of modern relationships? That's a lot to think about. Thanks so much for joining us as we unpack this material. Keep questioning, keep analyzing, and we will see you next time on The Explainer.